Hello guys, and welcome back again to the channel. Hope you all are doing well. On this video, I just want to walk you guys through how I've mixed this record for one of my subscribers, and I did it completely free. So let me just tell you guys quickly how this come about, because he sent me a reference mix and said if I can give him feedback. Obviously, knowing that he's one of my subscribers, I thought to myself, let me have a listen to it. When I listened, I realized that the mix was actually in need of a lot of work, which I told him. And then he said, unfortunately, he cannot afford my service. He would have loved me to mix it for him. But I thought, let me actually go ahead and surprise him. So I told him, send me the stems and I'll mix it completely free. So, which I did. I'll show you guys what the reference mix sounded like and what the final mix I sent him sounded like. And he's actually gone ahead and released this on all digital platform, last week. So let's have a listen to it first. And I obviously talk you guys through the difficulties I also encountered, because, some of the stems that I got is not really, up to standard, but I still had to, work with it. So this is the reference mix. So when you listen to this, you notice already that the low end, the high end, the mid, everything is disjointed, and that kick is really soaked in. The vocal, you could barely hear it clearly. So let's just look at this, Sonarworks True Balance, because this, I really love it. You see what is happening on that low end and other thing, because this is the, graph that we need to hit. If you notice, even on the correlation here, you could see, some are going below 50, some are going way low, which you really want your correlation to be hitting around that, +1 as close as possible. So let me also go ahead and show you guys on span, what is going on with that mix. So all this red poking out here actually tells you there's a problem with this mix, which means the side information is way too much. So let's also go ahead and now, listen to the mix that I sent him. The mix might be a bit louder, but I'll try to also bring it down halfway so we can actually level match.
Don't bleach, pretty girl, don't weep. The sight of you, sweet melanin queen. What a lovely treat. Your pretty face and your loving ways make you so complete. What a going round town, make every G one brown. What a going round.
So let me go ahead and turn off the limiter so we can actually try to sort of get this up to the same level.
Round town, every B one white and brown. Fling with them African crow. Wow. Make my colors frown. I'm proud to be black. Come tell me I'm so. When I see your melanin skin, you get me into the mood. My emotions bubble up inside of me and cannot be subdued. So don't bleach it.
So that's what obviously I sent him versus what he sent for a reference. So let's go ahead and actually walk you guys through quickly what I did with the mix, because I don't want this video to be way too long. So the first thing you notice is the side information is way too much. So I had to find out what is the culprit, and I realized that it's actually, all his sounds, like the brass, the strings, the pianos, organs, they were, I don't know how they've panned it or whatnot, but it was just so, out of phase. So I had to first try to actually collapse them, close to mono so that it doesn't go out of phase. And in Logic, you've got this, direction mixer, which you can use to flip it close. But if you have any, spreader plugin that can also collapse sounds, you can also use that as well. You know, if I was using my main system here, I'll probably use maybe something like Waves S1 Imager. You can use it to collapse as well. But because I was actually doing this mix on my laptop because I wasn't on my main studio, so I had to use, you know, whatever I have available to get the job done. So you can see this one, I've collapsed it. Most of the sounds, you see that they were all collapsed. You know, this one is 48, depending. I'm just, you know, collapsing it while looking at, you know, the correlation meter, seeing when it sort of gets to a point where it's acceptable. This one is 40. You see that all the, you know, collapse is different numbers, just to a point where each one will sound in phase. This one as well, you say 50. So these are the main problem to actually fix that, you know, phasing issue. Then before I actually started the mix. Now going into the mix, the kick was really, you know, not good sound for this particular record. I had to, you know, recraft that high end and, you know, add a lot more brightness to it to make it fit into this record the way I would like it anyway. So you can see how I've actually boosted nearly 5 dB here. You know, opened it up as well. Actually 10 dB. If you look, I've added 10 dB there to, you know, push that up to sound as bright as possible. And then here, nearly 5 dB on the shelf. So normally I would not do this, but, you know, I felt like because the stems that I've got is not really how I want it. So I had to actually do, you know, what I would normally not do, which is why, you know, mixing varies. So you don't actually say, okay, this is the preset you use for every mix. You have to treat it depending on what comes through the door. So I also got a few bits going on like the compressor, you know. Let's have a listen to just that kick, how it sounded without any of this. You notice you hear more knock on that kick once we've got this EQ and the compressor going on. I've also added, you know, another parallel processing here, which I call drum knock, just to get a bit more of that, you know, higher end. You know, helping it more pronounced. And then I've also got here, which is drum crush. So here's more of my parallel drum crush that I also have on the snares and stuff. So which is using this, you know, UAD plugin 12:1 ratio. So we're getting enough, you know, compression. Then I've also used this EQ, boosted 7 dB at 100 Hertz, and a bit of attenuation as well. Remember also the high frequency about 10K, I'm also boosting it by 5 dB. So let's have a listen to that. So this other bus, I'm using this for parallel, you know, actually not parallel, for side chaining, because I want this to be side chained to the bass so that when it's hitting, the bass is docking. So this is the bass. We just got little radiator on it. This plugin was given free by, you know, SoundID guys in December, I think. So I got the channel EQ. Now this is the, you know, side chaining. You can see is on bus 8. So this is also, you know, just pulling this 100 Hertz area down whenever the kick hits. But when the kick is not there, it's not doing anything. So the same, I've got another one here. This one is just this 1K, 2K region, and I've sidechained it to the vocal, the lead vocal, so that when the vocal is also going on, this bass is pulled down around this 1K, 2K, 100 Hertz is pulled down by the kick, so that we can, you know, gain clarity. So let's quickly have a listen to every other ones. Let me just turn off that sidechain so you could hear how this kick will get sucked in. So you hear a bit more clarity once, this sidechain is on. So let's quickly move, a bit faster so that this video doesn't go too long. Next one is the hi-hat, which is just, a bit of EQing the same radiator to, add saturation to it. Then I got the Essa because I feel like, it's a bit too piercing. I've also got a tiny bit of, chroma reverb, which is the reverb in Logic. So most of the music, you can see I name it music verb. Most of them actually I got sent here so that they will sound cohesive. So now bring us into, the guitar, which is just that direction mixer. Then I got a bit of EQ filtering low and a bit of deep on that 1K for our vocal to, leave around there. So the piano is more or less the same, apart from the direction mixer. I'm also, getting a bit of space on that 1K region and opening the top. I also got this, chorus plugin to sort of spread it so it's not sat in the middle, but look at the mix knob. I'm only using about a tiny bit of the mix because this is 100%, but I've actually brought it way down, probably about 10%. This is the organ shuffle. The same collapse in it. I added a bit of chorus. This is a free chorus by Kilohertz. The mix is halfway. Another EQ, And this is the sax. Let's just have a listen to this sax only. A bit of EQ. I throw in reverb to it to make it, big, because where this sax came on, the vocal stopped. So to me, this is almost like a lead vocal there. So I had to, make it as big and more pronounced as possible. Now I've also got this here, just an EQ, getting rid of the low, a bit of brightness. Let's have a listen to that. Then I've got this string, the same direction mixer, pulling it in, a bit of EQ, brightness. So you will notice that there's not much that's going on individual stems. It's just mainly trying to sort of make them, sound the way I want to hear it. Now this one, I've got the same direction mixer, pulling it in a bit, EQ filtering the low, a bit of the brightness on top end. Then I added phaser. This is in Logic, just 10% mix. Notice there's not much different. And I'm also sending it to this Boss 3, which is a reverb. This is muted guitar, it just comes here and there. If you notice, all I've done is just, pull it in, no EQ, nothing, then send it to the reverb because I liked how it sounded, and you only come in just here and it's out, here again and it's out. So it's not really, doing much. Now where the main work is on the vocal, because vocal is what also will make this mix stand out once I've got, the beat going on. So let's just mute the vocals so you can just listen to the beat, how I've got it, sounding how I would like it to. So you could notice that this is now sounding more of like a balanced mix. Now it's now trying to put the vocal in. So let's have a listen to this main lead vocal without any of the processing whatsoever.
Won't make my colors frown. I'm proud to be black. Come tell me I'm sound. When I see your melanin skin, you get me into the mood.
So the first thing obviously is auto-tune so that he can, be in tune. Remember, like I said, I was using the laptop, so I used auto-tune access because I've not got my main auto-tune on the laptop. I've only got access to this one. So all fast. I had this on medium before, but when I sent him the mix, he said, can I retune it a bit more? So I had to then push it to the fastest. And I had to also humanize it because otherwise it would be way off, in sounding, a bit too robotic.
My emotions bubble up inside of me and cannot be subdued.
Then I throw in a bit of the ESA. This is Take Evasion, the ESA Pro. Then I bushed it into, this bus 23 where I have all the vocals going into. A bit of NLS channel, spike, which is emulation of the SSL to give it a bit of SSL board sound. UADX, which is 1176. You see, this is, 8:1 ratio to get, this vocal properly compressed. Have a listen.
Fling with them African crown. Some look like clown. Well, I'm proud to be black.
You notice that, half of the time is going to -7 dB of compression, but most times around -3 dB. Slow attack, medium, fast release. And this is EQP1A by IK Multimedia. I boosted 12K by 3 dB, 100 Hertz by 1.2 dB.
Tell me I'm sound. You're like my cup of coffee, girl. Hot, black, and sweet.
Then that's obviously followed by this SSL channel. If you notice, I've made it the E because you can, turn off the E version. I'm using the E version. Just a dB at 15K. I've also rolled the low and high off as well. Then I notched down this 2K so it doesn't, sound too piercing to the ears. Also a bit of notch, 1 dB at 300. This 180, low shelf, I'm rolling 3 dB with low shelf so that those low end will be away for the drums that I've crafted.
Love your melanin skin so don't.
If you notice, I'm also, compressing up to 3 dB here with 2:1 ratio. So that goes into another de-esser. After that, I throw in this Magic Flow. This is by Acoustic Audio. This plugin is obviously Josh Goodwin's Magic Flow. This dynamic resonance controller is what I'm using more to sort of control all the resonances and a bit of the S as well. And I'm also using this dynamic EQ.
Don't bleach, pretty girl, don't do it. The sight of you, sweet melanin queen. What a lovely treat. Your pretty face and your loving ways make you so complete.
So with this coming on, you notice that the vocal is less, harsh to the ears because all this dynamic resonance that's, working, and also this dynamic EQ pulling some frequency that's, poking out too much out. So that's followed by fresh air. Just a tad of, brightness. Having done the dynamic resonance, then I brightened it up a bit.
What a going round town, make every G1 brown.
I didn't want to overdo it. I had this reso before, but I took it out. It's not actually part of the mix anymore. I muted it, which is by mastering the mix, but I took it out because Magic Flow is doing the resonance suppression thing now. So that's followed by this reverb. This is Tisa by Softtube. If you notice, I'm just doing just 0.22 on the reverb time. So it's just trying to, put this in a little room space because it's very, very dry. And it's only 9% on the mix. And I'm putting it directly on the main channel. Have a listen.
What a going round town. Every bee want white and brown. Fling with them African crown. Make my colors frown.
So it's not putting this in a room. So that's obviously followed by our reverb, which is, let's go to the mix actually. This is our main reverb, which is this Eventide 2016 stereo room. a lot of pre-delay, 65 milliseconds. The decay is 300. So let's also see what I've added behind it, which is this chorus plugin. This is actually helping, spread it out a bit so it's not bang in the middle. So let's see, this is probably about 10% wet and dry, or maybe 15%. Let's have a listen to that with the reverb.
I'm proud to be black.
You see, that lushness that is giving it. That followed by bus 7, which is the delay. This was also given free sometime, but it's by MacDSP. I'm really loving this delay plugin now because it's actually got this Docker, and I'm using it just a bit. I think I didn't actually use it on this one. Sorry. But I'm using a bit of the spread, a bit of the saturation. Let's have a listen to that.
Come tell me I'm sound. When I see your melanin skin, you get me into the mood.
I've also added that chorus to it to help also spread it to the side of the center. And I'm sending it to this reverb so that, it's not way too forward. Then we got bus 9, yet another reverb. This one is our large, hall reverb. Let's find bus 9. This is bus 9. You can see that's 4 seconds decay, which is quite big, featuring a bit of the low. But if you notice on the mix, it's very, very tiny. And I'm also using this EQ to, high pass the low. Let's have a listen to it.
My emotions bubble up inside of me and cannot be.
So the next one is bus 10, which is the sidechain that we talked about. It's not going anywhere, no output, but I'm using it to sidechain the bass so that when the vocal is on, it's docking the bass on that 1K, 2K region. Another one is this bus 11, which is the, parallel processing that I've done. Crushing, this is all buttoning, crushing that vocal, a bit of limiter as well, and then blending it in. Let's have a listen to that. It makes the vocal a bit more upfront.
Be subdued, so don't bleach your skin, my melanin queen, for this is what I conclude. Out of some of the blackest spot, I got some of the sweetest food.
So the last one is this, bus 12. Let's go find it, which is my slap. And I'm using this precision from, UAD, precision delay. Let's have a listen.
What a go round town, make every man warm brown. What a go round town, every girl want.
One side is 105 milliseconds, the other side is just 89.4 milliseconds, So that's what we've done to the vocal. Let's just have a listen to it now with the mix again. Obviously, bearing in mind, this one is also part of it. I've only just changed the auto-tune setting on this one because it's more of a rapping on this side. I made it very slow.
Natural factor. Proud to be black, you must proud to be black, huh? Proud to be black, and that's a natural factor.
But the rest is the same settings that we've used. So on this side, which is the harmony and the backing ups and stuff, I've changed that one slightly, direction mixer, pulled it in because they were also, I don't know if they've been panned or something, was also throwing the mixes off on the side. So a bit of auto tune as well, medium, and channel EQ, getting rid of that high so it doesn't compete with the lead. Compressor, which is the digital compressor in Logic, get a lot more compression in. Then this ensemble, just to spread it out. Then I throw it into this reverb to also help push it back because this is just harmony. So let's have a listen to that now, all together.
Make every G warm brown. What a go on round town. Every B one white and brown.
So let's now go to the bosses where I've sent each and individuals. So this is the vocal boss. This is my mix boss. And I've also got this, all music, which I'm also using this compressor by IK Multimedia just to get a little bit of glue to all the sounds except the drums and snares. And I'm also sidechaining it, to that same vocal again. Remember, I've sidechained the bass. I'm also sidechaining all music so that they just dock this middle for the vocal. Now let's look for all drums. Here's my all drums. I've only just got, the same spike 0.5 dB on the drive, followed by black box. I push this pentode a bit more, but look on the mix, 50% on the mix. So let's have a listen to all drums only. So here's all Vox. I didn't do anything on all Vox. Normally I'll put maybe like a tape emulation plugin on it, but I just left it clean because I think I've done enough on the individual already. Now that leads me into the mix bus. So as you can see, just a bit of SSL, bus compressor 2, adding just a tad of glue. See, I'm using also 1.5 on the ratio, which is a very low ratio because I've also got another compressor. Let's have a listen.
Sweet, love your melanin, your melanin, your melanin skin, so don't bleach it.
So I'm actually using this more for the color, not really to, compress. Then that followed by this isotope. This is usually my preset that I start with on the mix bus. I'll throw in this EQ, just a bit of bump on 100 Hz, a bit of bump on this frequency, which is around 3.7. Then we go into the harmonic exciter using tube, just a tiny bit, 0.2 on the low, 4 on the 2.8, sorry, on the low, 4.3 on the mid, and this high 3.6, followed by this compressor. So each band I try to get at least 1 or 1.5 dB of gain reduction. Bearing in mind, I'm also mixing this 50%, so it's actually working in parallel. So that's this isotope was on 5, followed by black box again. This is, I think, the default, but I've just backed it by 20%. So I'm not using it fully. That's now going into this BX. And what I'm doing here is filtering the low by 30 Hertz high pass. Then I'm also using this stereo width, doing it 109, just to, open everything up, having collapsed the one that's out of phase. Then look at here, I'm using this mono maker. Everything below 61 Hertz has been, put to mono to add a bit more focus. That's pretty much it. Then the next one is, just a limiter to bring up 3 dB of gain, which if I wanted this to be even louder, I could still push it. But I felt like I was getting roughly minus 10 lofts, which is average, probably minus 11 lofts. Usually, most streaming platforms will say minus 14, but minus 10, minus 11 lofts is also healthy. If you like anything on this video, obviously, leave me a comment down below what you feel like, the mix turned out compared to the rough. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, share the video, join my membership where I will also, have access to listen to your mixes and give you feedback. And you never know, you might be the next person that will be mixing their song free. I've got the membership link down below. Also, don't forget to, hit that super thank and super sticker because it does help the channel as well. Until next time, thanks. Bye now.